da, 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 da. All right, nice. Looks like everything is working. So what do we got today? Well, it's Halloween, so I figured we would do something with some spooky scariness to it today in honor of the best holiday. So we're gonna paint ourselves up a spooky, scary skeleton. Namely this bro right here. He is some kind of mounted like knight special character. I've had him for a while and I haven't painted him. Um, but I think he came with the vampire like combat patrol, like one from like 1 or 2 generations ago. But he's a super dope model and a cool big ass skeleton horse. Um, and I have some of these like skeleton infantry bros, right? They're pretty cool. Got some of those. So I kind of want to paint him up to match. So not super complicated, right? But should be fun nonetheless. And a nice spooky model for the Halloweens. Give me just 1 second. Get really bad like light blockage from the camera today, so that should be much better. All right. So first up, we got to get up in them bones because a lot of his bones are kind of like the deepest part. So we are going to get working on those first. So this is Bone White from Vallejo. It's kind of like a nice, more yellowy off-white. And pretty much all I'm going to do is I'm going to get up in here and just get these bones colored. And then when we hit these with a brown wash later on, we we'll get some nice like aging on them, and then can potentially hit it with a dry brush again to kind of bring the color back up. So, but just one nice base coat for our bones to get them kind of worn and tired looking, you know. So there is a horse skeleton like under all of this stuff. So we have to make sure we hit those parts. The skeleton there is not like complete. So like up under the dressing, um, there's like no horse parts. So like it's pretty much just like cloth attached to with horse bone legs attached to it, right? So like you can see up in there, there's no like rib cage or anything like that that we need to worry about. It's kind of like we just have to paint the bits you can see, you know. Now, one of the things with these models that's always kind of confused me is that I want them to be like exclusively um like vampire themed, right? So like I always paint mine like they have the kind of the red armor my vampire creatures do, and they kind of match, you know. But like conceptually, if these are raised dead, um, they really wouldn't, you know. They would have like remnant kind of armor with like leftover pieces and colors from whatever faction they fought for. Um, but also all their clothing and stuff would be different, right? One of the things about these GW Ghosty Skeleton Boys. Where did my Ghosty Skeleton Boy go? Where the hell did I put the painted one? What? Link? Oh, about to say. Got ourselves a ghost moving our models. One of the things about these guys is that what were they wearing in life, right? Like, were they wearing like a breastplate over a dress? Because that's kind of what it looks like, right? So like these guys really should have like remnant kind of armor that's all like rusty and trashy and stuff, but like their clothes and stuff just don't make sense, for what they would have been wearing. Um, so I like to kind of paint these guys to match my vampires, and in my brain these are more less like raised undead and more like summoned undead. Um, More kind of like ghosty and ethereal than like we raised them off the battlefield kind of thing, you know. And that way, like in my brain, it makes sense that their outfits are all kind of similar, and they have kind of similar colors to my vampires and stuff like that. Because the vampires aren't out here like arming these guys, um, and their armor's all kind of beat up and stuff. So like in my brain, this is like the vampired version of like who this soldier was when they died, kind of thing, more than they were on a battlefield and got raised up. Because otherwise, I think honestly the GW models just don't make a lot of sense as like vampiric undead, to be honest. Okay, so now we got our bones card. Yeah, I've been eating so much of my own beard lately. Um, we're gonna do the next step, which is going to be our next level in, which is going to be our cloth. So this is dark neutral gray from Pro Acryl. I love this color. This is my favorite black color because it is dark enough to be for people to read it as black when they look at the model, but it's still light enough to show details. You know, like you're still gonna see if you put a black wash over this, you're still gonna see some shadow and stuff like that, which is really nice. So my puppo is letting me know that something is getting delivered. That something should be a deck of cards that I got off Amazon. Why did I buy a deck of cards? Because I actually didn't have a set that would work very well for Torch and Shield. And I wanted to play Torch and Shield this week, and went to go play it, but then realized it used as a deck of cards, and I just really didn't have a set that would work well for it. So I got a set off Amazon so we can. My goal is on Sunday to play some Torch and Shield. We're gonna have ourselves a spooky dungeon delve with some Skaven and some orcs and a bunch of nasty undead dickheads. Not literally, but we're gonna have some ghouls. Did I get one more? Was it? Okay. No, there's more out there. I was about to say, I swear I got more than that on there. Blech. So, blech. So yeah, so that's the goal on Sunday, is to get some of that in. Should be very fun. It looks like a really fun game. I'm not 110% sure on the rules yet. So when we do it, I think we'll do it very much as like a let's play, kind of like let's learn to play this game together kind of thing, more than like an instruction kind of thing. I mean, honestly, most of the stuff I do is that way anyway, but I think it'll be more fun. Right, if we kind of expect to get some of the rules wrong and stuff like that, but still to have a good time. So that game's entirely about dwarves and stuff, but I'm going to use some Skaven or Ratman from One Page Rules. the special ones that I made for the OPR fantasy quests that I never got around to playing. I'm going to use them. So we kit bash those on the channel, and I think I painted some on the channel too for those. So that's kind of fun. Since these guys are all kind of so wraith-like, they probably would look really cool if you painted them up as wraiths, like, and kind of like in ethereal colors. They would probably look super dope if you did that. So didn't paint them like skeletons, but painted them like ghosts. That would probably be turbo cool. But I've got some kind of already painted skeletons, so we're just going to keep running with that for now. And this way they match my vampire guys. Because these guys definitely have like very vampire theming to them. You know, with like the big hats and you know, kind of the flowing cloth and stuff. It just feels very vampire. So I definitely don't want them to be just like generic undead. I want them to be specifically undead for vampires. Yeah, I'm just making sure I kind of get every area here that's cloth and just working my way around the model. I am also going to paint up underneath the horse this color as well. So like up under here. I'm going to do that in black too. That way it'll be harder to kind of see those areas when I'm playing with the model. So I was playing World of Warcraft with my husband yesterday. And we did a dungeon in an area called Revendreth, which is like an entire like vampire themed zone and probably one of the worst World of Warcraft expansions. And it's just really funny. I'd totally forgotten that that zone existed. It's actually what made me think about painting some vampires, because right now, for like Halloween, because like right now my current like main project is I'm gonna work on my grots. I'm gonna work on my goblins. I'm in kind of a goblin-y mood, to be honest. And I am trying to get caught up on a lot of my projects right now. You know, I have this giant pile of shame, right? And in truth, a lot of it is kit bashing stuff, right? Like probably a good third of this big pile that kind of is just slightly off to my right. Well, probably a good third of that is stuff just for kit bashing, right? A lot of plastic multi-part kits, right? Where you don't use all the pieces in one assembly. You should get like 5 of the same sprue, so you save it so you can kit bash it with other sprues later, kind of that kind of stuff, right? I probably have like 20 of those boxes sitting to my right. I got a cash award earlier this year, and I used a chunk of it for buying just a shit ton of those kits. Right, and they're kind of all stacked up here. And it makes my pile of shame look just ridiculously massive. But I don't know. I kind of want to work on my pile of shame a little bit. Um, Before I pick up anything new. Uh, I went to a hobby store over in the like kind of more jungly side of Hawaii, called Kaneohe. Come on. No, they're still painting here, damn it. Come on, where you at? There we go. So I went to this hobby store and like essentially the owner of the store had picked up like a consignment set from someone who had like passed away and was reselling it essentially for the person, which was very nice. But like that whole thing was like I don't know, somebody's collection, you know? Like just tons of kits that never got to like know their potential, you know? I don't know. To be honest, it made me a little sad, so I think I want to work on my pile of shame a little bit, you know? Um, for that reason. So my goblins are up first, so I'm working on them. Um, and they kind of go with torch and shield anyway, right? Like I think having a goblin team for torch and shield would be really cool. You know, the game is really dwarf centric, but like really none of those rules are specifically you have to be a dwarf. So you could easily make a team out of goblins. Um, so that's what I'm kind of doing. So I'm gonna play my Ratman, and then I'm gonna make some. As I paint that army up, I'm gonna put together some other teams out of goblins. I think that would be kind of fun. And honestly, I'm really enjoying painting the trogs. Man, I don't know why, but trogs they're a real super hit on the spot, dude. I was actually gonna work on the Den Cold Trogoth today. Um, but he didn't seem Halloweeny enough for me, so I decided that I would hold off on doing him today, and I'll just work on him on my own. All right, we got some black in there. Let's get our red in there. So that shiny red that I have is from scale 75. This is, I want to say sapphire red. The names on the scale 75 labels always rub off. It's so weird. This is a very shiny metallic red. I believe Army Painter has a shiny metallic red now too, but I don't have that one. This is the one I've used in the past, so. But I believe they have one too if you wanted like an Army Painter equivalent. There might even be Pro Acryl metal paints now. I don't know. I have not been into any of the hobby shops that sell Pro Acryl paints recently. Um, just because I haven't really been buying GW stuff, so you know that's majority of what a lot of the hobby shops sell, and I just haven't been buying it. I do really like those Chaos Dwarfs, though. I might ask for some Chaos Dwarfs for Christmas. We'll see. We'll see. I might change my mind and do something else instead. Because they are stupidly expensive now, GW is. Holy shit. Every time I look, their price just keeps going up and up. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, if that's the only, like, ecosystem and game you play, I don't know how you're supposed to keep up with that. Like, a combat patrol has less stuff in it, and it's legitimately double the price nowadays. Like, you're still getting a decent number of stuff, but, like, uh, yeah, like, just the, I don't know, shrinkflation, I guess, of it is really crazy. The battle boxes are kind of the same way, too. They, have really gone down in size, and the price has just consistently gone up and up every year. Because I used to really love the battle boxes. They were like the thing that I wanted to do for like the holidays. I was like, give me this battle box, please. But like, they're very hard to justify, in my opinion, nowadays. But to each their own. It's just very, I don't know, kind of challenging. Like the cost increase is just, it's really rough. Especially when you compare it to something like gunpla, right? Which has gone up a good bit in the last couple of years. Um, but like it hasn't gone up that much, you know? Like your kit might have gone from like $20 to maybe like 32, right? Which is a pretty big steep increase. Um, but at the same time, it's not like one character model for $42. You know what I mean? You're at least getting like a big kit kind of thing for that kind of cost, you know? Yeah, I think the 30-minute missions kits I think went from like $16. I think they're now like $22 or something. Which is still a pretty big increase, but not as crazy as a jump. You know, it didn't like start every battle box and start crossing into like triple digits kind of thing. You know. Anyway, it's Halloween. I shouldn't be whining about scary prices and horrifying consumer tactics. Ooh. Maybe I should. Maybe that stuff really is scary. Ah, all right. That's too damn serious. Going back to slowly just chipping away at this armor. So as I kind of start painting this in, I'm going to start noticing areas that I didn't hit properly in the other steps, and that's pretty normal. We kind of reveal some stuff as we go along, right? And I'm not going to worry about those right now. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to save that all for the cleanup step, right? I'm just going to focus on getting a nice kind of base coat of this red metallic down everywhere it needs to be. And then we'll focus on how there are some paints in places where they don't need to be. Right, and that's just going to be the cleanup step. So before we do that even, we're even going to do all of the silver as well. So that we kind of have sort of like all of our base coats really, because this guy is not going to have many colors. Just because of the color scheme I picked for the vampires. He's not going to have like a crazy color palette. And once we get all those base coats down, we can go back and clean them up. There we go. All right. Making the progress. Oh, yeah. I do like these scale 75 metallics. They are really nice. Oh, there's some wet black there still. So, no, there's actually some there. Oh, it's carrying over. I see now. Okay. We'll go to a different spot. 2 seconds. There we go. Clearing that little clog. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. We'll come back and we'll hit that shoulder pad again in a couple of minutes. And that black smear that we made has time to dry. We could hit it in the cleanup step, but I think I'm going to try to do as little cleanup as possible on the red metal. And we'll try to do all the cleanup on the other colors. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's see. That's all cloth. There we go. Paint down in there too. Alright. He has some kind of belt thing on. I think it's like an armored belt. It does not look like a normal sword belt to me. Maybe it is? But yeah, you could paint these guys up to go with like the Warhammer Ghost faction, the Night Haunt, and they would look pretty cool. They've got the same kind of like swirling cloth that those models have, so they would probably work pretty good in that army. Or like in a mix where they're kind of painted similar, you know, as the Night Haunt. That might be pretty cool too. But yeah, another Halloween here in Hawaii. For everyone that's never been to kind of like a tropical area for a holiday, it's always kind of strange. Not because the holiday itself is strange, right? Like Christmas is still Christmas, and Halloween is still Halloween, that kind of stuff. And it's always weird because I grew up in a place that has really strong seasons. So coming out here where there are seasons, but they are not characterized the same way. And people who haven't been out here very long will tell you there are no seasons, but there are clearly seasons. Um, they're just different, you know. They're not characterized the same way they are back in the mainland. But it's very strange because a lot of like kind of what I associate with Halloween, I associate with those seasons, right? So it's very hard to kind of get in the spirit, I guess, being out here. Even though all the same Halloween stuff exists, right? Just because like that one piece is kind of missing, and that's just always kind of weird. It's not like bad, right? Like I say it's weird, but I'm not saying it's like a negative. It's just a difference, you know? Like I'm still looking forward tonight when we'll go and hand out our candy to the kids, and that will be awesome. But like a lot of the stuff that I associate with spooky time just kind of doesn't happen on the island. And that's definitely interesting, you know? It's kind of neat to see something that you grew up with, but slightly differently, right? Um, Another good example is really like Christmas and snow, right? And Christmas and like, because it gets cold here in Hawaii. People that haven't been out here for a while will be like, it's not cold. Yeah, it's fucking cold. Um, so it gets cold out here, but not like in the way that like I remember the mainland being cold, you know? Um, but like you legitimately have people here on the island that have never seen snow, right? Um, you know, so they don't associate that at all with the holiday. And that's just really interesting from a like anthropological kind of way, you know. I went out with a friend for lunch today, and we were talking about visiting like other people's MMOs essentially. You know, MMO is a massive multiplayer online game, so games like World of Warcraft. And it was really fascinating, you know, because like we both have situations where we've kind of essentially played someone else's game, you know, like come into a game that we know nothing about and played it, right? But it's very clear that like there are people that know a lot and care a lot. Um, and it's interesting to kind of be like outside of that, kind of looking in. You know, it's almost like being an archaeologist, you know, before like a subculture or a game, you know, like seeing how other people live and what they prioritize and stuff in their experience. Really fascinating stuff. You know, and that kind of thing goes beyond just, oh, there's different kinds of players, you know, it's some games and stuff, they have an entire culture to them that's unique to that game. And if you don't know it, right, like you don't understand like the pace of it, you're going to have a bad time. And it's probably that way whenever you move anywhere. I mean, I know I definitely felt that moving out here to Hawaii. But the same is probably true in a lot of places when you move somewhere that you're not super familiar with. All right. Is there any other egregious red spots I'm missing? I don't think so. I think we're probably pretty good. I say spotting an egregious red spot I'm missing. There we go. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, let's break out that silver now. Oh. So we'll do our silver, and then we'll go around and do a bunch of touch up. The black is going to need a lot of touch up. I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to be a lot of touch up there, and the bone's going to need a little bit of touch up too. But definitely not as much as that black. That black's going to need a shit ton of touch up. Just like an absolute shed load, because you can see I missed all the barding here on the neck of the horse, right? I missed all the barding there going down the middle there, because I thought that was metal at first, but no, it's actually cloth. So gonna just be a little bit of cleanup there. And why is this silver so not silver? It's just like shiny clear. Did I not mix this up good enough? Alright, let's see if we can get rid of that shiny clear. Get actual silver. Yeah, that looks better. So this is chainmail from Vallejo, but really any silver will do. I just need something for metal details that is not red. Right, so stuff for like chainmail, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I guess the paint was just not mixed up very well there. It just made things like shiny and clear. Gross. Okay. Stuff like the tip of his spear. You paint the skull on that side? I did. Yeah, we'll paint the whole like top bit here with the skull and everything. And all that silver. But yeah, the existence of like, you know, being in somewhere else watching people like do something that you're familiar with, be it play a game or, going to a place where people are really familiar with something and you're not. It's really fascinating. And it's like a great way to really kind of, I don't know, I'd say step out of your comfort zone, but you're still kind of in your comfort zone. You're just kind of like visiting somewhere else. You know what I mean? Um, but it's interesting to at least get a little bit of perspective, you know? My friend mentioned a game that she plays. It takes like forever to like level up certain traits and stuff, kind of like old school RuneScape. Um, and that's interesting, like 'cause that's there's similar things in like Warframe, like one of the games I play. But at the same time, like I don't in like an MMO environment, I don't necessarily want to spend years leveling something up, you know what I mean? Kind of want to see new content over that. So, just fascinating to see kind of what other people want and stuff. When I was in game dev, we did a lot of stuff for like player cycles essentially, and that's super fascinating. Kind of these loops and catches and hooks that players exist in, and you know sometimes like thrive towards. Ugh. And this guy has a lot more little chainmail color than I thought he did. It's just kind of hidden everywhere. I think there's new rider models too that kind of match this guy, but I've got some of the old ones, so I got to paint those up at some point too to go with him. Okay, let's see. He's got a sword sheath here. We can do that in silver as well. There we go. And I guess that sheath, I guess, actually goes all the way down under this cloth. So we'll get a little under there, but a lot of that you're not going to see. Alright, so let's touch up some of these silver areas, and then we will begin the painstaking process of cleanup, which is going to be just us going around and kind of making sure the right colors are in the right spots. And that, the color has enough coverage wherever it is. So like here on the top of the hat, the top of the spear, right? That's garbage coverage. It did not stick very well to the red metal color. So we have to go back and touch that up, right? It's going to need a second coat after it dries. But let's go around and let's hit our things. And just clean up our colors and kind of get this guy more ready. There are a couple additional colors we have to do, but they're kind of like finishing touches kind of colors in my opinion, more than like main colors. So we will do those after we have most of the stuff touched up. And what those are going to be, there's going to be some straps, and then stuff like the back of his shield, the wrappings on the handle of his spear, that kind of stuff. That's all going to be our like final touch-up kind of stuff, or our final detail kind of stuff. We're not going to worry about it till then. So just going to go back over. Man, I left a nasty nub on that hoof. Oh well. He is also wearing kind of big horseshoes, so we could in theory actually hit those too, and probably should. So after this bone dries, we'll go ahead and we'll hit those with, we'll do those in red as well, and he'll have fancy dancy shoes. Boop, 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 boop. Got a paint in the horsey's tail. And just gotta clean up our lines. So there we go. And then same thing for the face. Right, just gotta get in there, clean up any unnecessary where we hit somewhere else. Just sort of clean our lines up. So the goal there. Right, we're going to do the same to him too. He thankfully does not have any instances of it. So he does actually not have a lot of bone showing. But like I hit the hand there with a little bit of red, stuff like that. Or I hit the red there with a little bit of bone. That kind of stuff. All right. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Now, let's do some more black. Do I still have some black on the palette? Let's see. Hell yeah, I do. All right. Okay. So first off, we got to make sure we fill in everywhere there's supposed to be black that there's not. And then we have to make sure we fill in the areas that are supposed to be black that we hit with something else. So like here in the barding, I made a whole bunch of mistakes. I totally missed this part of the barding here. Right, because when I looked at this, this all just looked like chainmail when he was just primed. So we want to make sure that now that we can see the detail a little better, because it's got some color on it, we're going to make sure we hit that stuff now, you know? Okay, up here in the saddle. So this guy doesn't actually have a saddle. He is mounting his skeleton horse bareback. Giggity. So yeah. So that's all just going to be the black kind of cloth color then. All right. We have an edge here running along the side of the cloth color. We can hit. And then there. And yeah, just going to kind of walk around the model and hit everywhere we think we need to. So like this spot there, the inside there, probably can't even see that, but I can. So if I don't paint it, I know it's going to be there. So same thing with like this up under area here. This is like cloth sitting on top of metal. So is anyone ever going to see that? No. But if I don't paint it, I will know it's there. And then here is some silver that I totally missed. So good thing we have to come back and hit the silver and do the silver cleanup still, because I totally missed that. Oh. Honestly, the silver color did not work super well this time. It's a little surprising. That's almost always the silver color I use, and it usually works really well. Maybe I gotta throw it on the big shaker. My husband got me this like big shaker thing. It's really nice. And when I'm painting by myself, I use it a good bit. But when I'm on stream, I don't tend to use it because it makes a whole bunch of noise. So what it does is it's a magnet that kind of spins around, and it causes the ball bearings inside the paint to kind of whip around, which is a really cool concept. And it works quite well. Sometimes what you have to do to get it to work good though is you have to like get the ball bearing loose first by shaking it yourself a couple of times before you put it on there. But once the ball bearing's loose, it just kind of goes whoosh and is pretty dope. But it makes a whole bunch of noise, so I try not to use it when I'm streaming. But I use it a bunch by myself. Okay. Whew. Man, I'm like totally bent over this guy. For not having many colors, he is kicking my ass. Because this guy is like maybe 5 colors. Hello! Hope you are having a happy Halloween. All right, there we go. All right, let's see. What else are we missing? We gotta do silver touch up. Did I get all of the black? Almost. Then there's sleeve. Tiny, tiny bit. There we go. Okay. Alright, that looks like all the black to me once we hit this set of reins. Make sure they are good. They look pretty darn good. Okay. Okay. Alright, that looks like all the black to me. Now, I want to... Oh, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the inside of his shield really quick. Because I'm thinking about it right now, and while this is kind of like a detail painting step, if I don't do it right now, I'm going to forget about this. And yeah, that's going to be bad. Because then he is going to have a white inside of his shield and it's going to look like shit. So, now, I will fully admit, painting the insides of the shields are one of those details I don't like painting. And often what I will do is just paint the inside of the shield the same color as the outside of the shield. But it's very prominent on this guy. So I'm going to paint it separately because it is so prominent. Right? It has a really strong wood texture. It is, when you look at the model, it's kind of right behind his like face area. All that kind of stuff. So yeah. Go. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to touch up the red. I tried to reduce the red touch up as much as possible. So we need to do that, and we need to also touch up the silver. So let's actually do the silver first, I think. Yeah, I think we'll do the silver first. Bonk. Silver needs a lot of touch up because of the error we had when first putting it on. So this touch up step's going to take a little bit. And will probably result in us having to touch up some other pieces as we go. So, but we're going to try to be as neat as is possible. See, I already screwed that up, so that's going to need to get touched up again. Now, before I do that, I'm going to finish all of this, and then we will go back and touch up any of the black I screw up. Should not be many instances of it, but just in case, we're going to wait. Get his sword hilt down there. And we can hit the sword sheath. There's some black I missed. The black by the sword sheath. We need to remember to hit that. Yeah, I screwed up like all this chainmail. Okay, that's gonna take a whole bunch of cleaning up, but it's fine. Alright. Damn it, I missed more goddamn barding on this side. Ugh. Ugh, I say. Goddamn horse barding. Why? Alright, I think that's all the silver done. Okay, let's touch up where I screwed up on the black. Actually, let's give that a little bit to set. We'll touch up the red, and then we'll come back and touch up the areas I screwed up on the black. I think that's going to be our appropriate order of operations here. So, I know I screwed up right here under the skull. There we go. Cool. Edge of his gauntlet here. There we go. In this area. Okay. Back of the helmet over the silver. Gonna get more paint for that. There we go. Okay. Down in the neck of his armor. We didn't paint that. Now we did. Okay, cool. All right. Edge around the back of the shield. Okay, that's painted now too. We'll just hit the shield again. I had totally missed this knee pad and armor plate here. So we need to do those for the first time. There we go. And something I totally missed on both sides as well is the bottom of his feet. Kind of a hidden little detail there you probably wouldn't really think about, you know? And I just kind of want to go around the lines everywhere. Just make sure they're nice and tidy and neat. Right? And then this barding area needs a whole bunch of love. So I screwed up the black here. And I screwed up the chainmail multiple times in this area as well. So there we go. Boop, 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 boop. All right. Okay, okay. All right, we got this edge here. And that one. Area with the tail. Keep seeing these little edges on the helmet. I keep seeing their areas, thinking they're areas without paint, but I painted that area like 10 times. All right. And it's just how like the light works on the metallic paint. All right, moving to the other side. So finishing up the red, then we're going to do round 2 of touch up on the black because I messed up so much. And then our final details and then washes. But honestly, I don't know if we'll get to washes on the stream. Because this scale 75 metal paint, I want to give this enough time to dry before I hit it with a wash. Because otherwise I feel like this doesn't really get a tooth to it, and the wash is just kind of gonna run off of it. So I want it to I wanted to make sure it has time to cure and dry before I wash it, I think. So. He also has like a big gem on his helmet we could do something with too. I don't know, maybe paint that like a bright green or something. Alright. Okay. Yeah, what color do we want to hit that gem on the helmet? I've got this dark jade. I've got regular. Let's do regular jade. Sounds nice. Yeah, it'd be a nice, crazy pop of bright green. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Give him just a little bit of bright green there. That's pretty sweet. Okay, now let's do our final touch up of our black. And then we're going to do our last bit of detail painting, which is actually going to be a whole bunch of straps and stuff like that. I'm doing these last because my plan is just kind of do them very neatly so they don't require any touch up. Normally, I like to do belts and straps and stuff before touch up. But there's so few on this guy. I'm hoping. Oh, we got to hit his shoes too. Damn it. The horse's shoes, I mean. But what I'm hoping is that I can just do these without screwing anything up. So there won't be any cleanup needed on them. That's kind of the goal. There we go. And I see a red spot that I miss. Here we go. Okay. This guy's got so many like little crevices to him. And like little folds and things. It's pretty crazy to be honest. It's a whole lot of like areas to miss painting this model. I will probably be finding some long after he's painted, I'm sure. Like if you hold him just right up to the light on a moonless night, like you'll see that you forgot to paint the entire horse's butthole. You know, something like that. You know, and like details like that, I swear. The minute you take your models to the game store, it's the first thing everyone sees. Oh, you didn't paint this thing. There you go. All right. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Guess that's just pretty much little detail time then. So I'm gonna bring out Leather Brown from Army Painter for this. Um, oh, we gotta do the horse's shoes too. Let's do those real quick. Well, I still have red that's soft. Okay. So this is just the horse has like little metal shoes on. I just kind of want those to be detailed. When I do the base on this guy, I'm sure some of this is going to get lost because I do these kind of like grave, dusty kind of bases. So I'm sure some of it will get lost, but maybe you'll be able to see some of the horseshoe, right? Even if um, you're not going to be able to see it clearly after the basing's done on every instance. The horn that's on the hooves is also usually a different color. It's usually not bone color. See, horses have a foot that's basically one big ass toe, and they basically run on the end of that toe. So there is actually bone in there in the hoof. Uh, and the hoof is kind of like a toenail. All right, there he is. He's got his fancy dancy hooves now. There we go. All right, now we can use that brown that I pulled out. So this is leather brown. It's kind of like a nice, kind of creamy brown. It's a little warm, but not too warm. To be honest, it actually makes a really good like color for doing leather chips. Like if you want to do leather chips and make leather look aged. So like how you do that is you do your leather, you do your wash, and then you go through and you pick out kind of like little streaks and edges with your wash or with a lighter leather color. So if you use a dark leather and then use this, it actually looks really good as leather chips. There's probably a more technical term for that than leather chips, but that's what I call it. And it's a nice way of making leather look just like distressed and old. So you would kind of just hit just the edges with it. Maybe make some little like streaky marks against the leather where it looks like stuff might have bumped into it. But yeah, and with that, our Mr. Skellebones is all ready for washes. There you go. 1 hour Skellebones. Now, I am not going to do the washes right now. I'm going to let him sit because I want this color to cure more. So it's the time that paint takes after it dries. It goes through like other stages. And I think once this pro acryl stuff cures a little bit better, it'll get more of a tooth to it to help with the wash. I think if I put it on right now, it's going to be very slick. So, yeah. Well, pretty cool. And look, we made ourselves a spooky, scary skeleton for Halloween. And now my little Halloween night guys, Vampire Night Lord guys, they've got a boss to boss them around. Yeah, there you go. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a happy Halloween and a good one, and keep on keeping on.